notes for my October 2024 reading of a 2019 autobiography of Katie Arnold. I'm filming this Sunday, 20 October 2024. I finished it earlier this morning. I'm Tanis Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle, and I'm talking through my book and reading notes from my October 2024 reading of an autobiography on long-distance runner and writer Katie Arnold. Running Home, a Memoir by Katie Arnold, March 2019, Random House, first edition, hardcover. ISBN in the video description. I started the book on Wednesday, 16 October 2024, and finished the book on Sunday, 20 October 2024. Today it's off by over 100. It's 359 pages, including the About the Author section. It took me 5 days. I did 40 pages on Wednesday, 80 pages on Thursday, 160 pages on Friday, and then 50 pages on Saturday, and 29 pages on Sunday. This is a public library copy. I put it on hold and then picked it up and read it. Book notes, including construction design. Somebody before me left their receipt in the book. They left it at page 69. Name on the receipt was Camilla, spelled Kamila, with a due date of 6 September 2024, meaning they checked it out in August 2024. Perhaps they were hopeful Katie Arnold would compete at the 2024 Summer Olympic Games in Paris, France. I already put the receipt in the recycling, so I don't have it to show you. There's water damage throughout some food/beverage marks. That is book notes. However, it's more specifically copy notes. So like that's unique to this copy, I would guess, and I would hope not, at least that no. I hope that there's some copies in the library system that doesn't have that damage. It's very clear that I am not the first person to read this copy. Is another way of phrasing it. I might be for the Share memoir. So Share is releasing the first part of a two-part, or I guess two memoirs, kind of framing it as part 1 and part 2. And that's November 2024, and I'm number 18 in line on, I think it is 44 copies. So when they come in, I get to be the first person in the library system to read that copy if I follow through. Okay. And I haven't done that recently. For the books released this year, I've not been that early, so that would be different. But that's different than this book. This is a book. It's a real book. It's medium font, large pages, and like 1.25 spacing. It's 359 pages of that, including the About the Author section. There are breaks in paragraphs. Sometimes there's a line, sometimes it's just a big space. There's both chapters and sections. I'm not going to show the chapters because they are pictures and but the pictures are formatted with a caption underneath and then photo credit on the side. And then for chapters, it's the chapter number and then the title of the chapter. For the pages, even page numbers at the top along with the author name on even pages, and then on the odd pages, the name of the book, Running Home, or the super title of the title. And then here's an example. So there's chapters and there are parts. So there's a part as the name of the part, and then there's a quote with the part. Okay, so that's and the pictures are there's kind of throughout. There tend to be at the front of the chapter, but then there's some within the chapter as well. Not always, but there are additional. Okay, reading notes. So essentially, the first 100 pages is how it comes across, whether or not that was the intent. So essentially what Katie Arnold does is exploit the cancer diagnosis of her father to turn his pain and suffering into this book and financial profit for herself. This is a pushing product type biography, meaning the author may make a handsome sum from the companies by naming them in the book. I have not ever met the gal, Katie Arnold. I do not know the gal, and based on the content of her book, I would reckon she does not even know my name. There's one universal truth for women like Katie Arnold. They live their lives exactly like in their biographies/autobiographies. I think she took great care in that, actually. Is she a death seeker, someone who would rather die than wait? If that's a yes, that's impressive considering she's a long-distance runner. So there's a little bit of, it takes a little bit longer, so that would be something actually worth noting. All right, now for things I have put little sticky notes by. On page 4, she names the girlfriend of her dad after her parents get divorced. Was Leslie. Okay, so that came up because I was like, she introduced kind of her family and named her sister Meg, but then didn't include her dad's name. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird to include. I guess she loves her girlfriend of her dad more. And then it took 23 more pages Page 27, she gets around to naming her dad, David L. Arnold, who was a big deal photographer / picture editor at for a magazine named National Geographic. So I was like, this is one way to know somebody hates their dad. It takes them 23 more over 20 more pages to name the guy after the girlfriend, after the mom. Okay, hierarchy here. She likes Leslie more than her dad. Okay, at least. Also on page 27, so that's on page 27. On page 27, she talks about Americans conquering, taking Rome. And I'm like, if that's true, I might need to move home. I'm somebody of part of Rome, ancient Roman before ancestral origins. So having invasives of the United States of America invade and attack original peoples in the Roman region, that's no good. I don't know, I have to go home and protect the original peoples. And also, like, sending invasives is, I guess, inappropriate. America's not one to talk about that kind of thing, or it doesn't really get credibility in my eyes in terms of being right when you're sending people who have invaded and not done anything to make the Native Americans here. That not south of the border, right? That those ones do their politics down where they are. A lot of them bring stuff here and then try to suffocate us, those of us Native American people who have Native American blood, to the United States of America region. Right, so they're just as bad, if not worse, than some of the people who came over at the beginning. So yeah, do I have to move home? Do I have to go to Italy to defend my family from invasives invading yet again? Okay, page 41. Quote, life is about touching it all as many times as possible, unquote. That's her. I don't agree with that. I don't like being touched. I do not like my stuff being touched. It tends to be consensual or non-consensual, especially not from somebody who's not my soulmate. Okay, so that's just a no-no. My sister's super fingery and hands-on with her dogs, and I've even kind of made note of that in social interactions before, and I was like, my sister's pregnant to have her first child very soon. Like, due date is like, what, less than 2 months away. And it's a male, a son, and she's very fingery and hands-on. I hope that's not the case and hurting her or harming her child and their self-confidence, or, you know, other children or something. Like, I don't know. If my sister is a pedophile and her husband is a rapist, or so my brother-in-law is a rapist, that would be news to me. I don't know that. It's the kind of stuff that doesn't make me feel comfortable. And in my family, that all touchy, fingering everything, that's my sister. For my family, it's not my cup of tea. Okay. Page 56, she equates Arrival with Sweet Relief. And based on when this came out, I kind of wonder if that's about the movie Arrival, which I've covered on this channel in Movie Notes video. And you guys know I did not find that movie Sweet Relief if you've watched that Movie Notes video. If you haven't, you can go and watch it. But I made note of that. It has Jeremy Renner in it as a physicist, though it focused on linguistics and communication breakthrough. So not quite a science movie or sciencey movie. Page 73, she equates childbirth with physical trauma. She's the kind of woman who kind of blames everybody else, and she never does anything wrong. So she kind of starts off with the birth of her child as blaming the child, which was moving on, right? Page 77, she talks about her sister ran hurdles. So they both were active in some form of running. Page 113, she talks about how she doesn't really voice that she made the right choice in who she married until her dad says she made the right choice. So she needs that external feedback to make the decision or judgment herself, which is kind of interesting. Page 134, she brings up her dad's weight, 180 pounds in August, and it's on the downward trajectory, like as in going down. She doesn't actually bring up her dad's weight before then, so it was kind of, it came across as like, you know, they show pictures of her and she's skinny, and I'm like, maybe it's her way of like invoking the number so she doesn't ever hit 180 pounds or something like that. It's like she also doesn't establish whether that was a healthy weight for him before the illness or not, like earlier in his life, if he weighed that or not. So yeah. Page 135, she chose to include it in the book, even though she contradicts herself a little bit later. the big deal in having children, so she has 2 daughters, the big deal is going from 0 to 1. After that, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But she actually chose to include that in, like, really emphasize the no offspring to offspring matters more than the number of offspring. So that's page 135. Page 160, she has a therapist or an acupuncturist or something who emphasizes if you're in the moment and it's not what you wanted, can you change and adapt to that moment is not what you wanted. I've done that for this notes video already. I took too long, so this is my second time through. It's still single take, but second time through. And so that was page 160. Page 225. She is a spotlight monger, picture monger, and she chooses to frame it as, oh no, I'm not an attention blank, attention monger. No, it means she considers her getting all of the pictures instead of her sister proof that her dad loves her, and because he spent time to take the picture. Like, she got an attitude problem. But a lot of people in the world got an attitude problem. More press, more press, more press. It's because they love me more than anybody else because I give more press. That's just called being a control freak, right? Okay, page 244. I'm putting it nicely. Page 244. Oh, she says that her husband stopping running is essentially giving it to him. I was like, maybe he was thinking of their children. Maybe he was making space for their daughters to run, so they could take after their mom. So she, again, is kind of blames everybody or interprets everything about her, and she's not really one for sharing. I thought that was a perfect example of that. Page 255. He's the breadwinner in the family, so in her spare time she does running. But she doesn't really have a job. So she's freelance writer as well as a runner. But then she also takes time to run instead of being with the kids, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing. I'm like, because my mom stayed at home for when I was growing up. She was a stay-at-home mom, but she didn't go off and abandon us and go running instead. Page 297, there's a picture of her husband. And I think it's the only picture she includes of her husband. It's like, that's all he gets? 1? Okay, lady. And then page 331, she talks about how even the best mentors, eventually get overtaken by those they mentor. And I was like, so your daughters are going to be better long distance runners than you, honey? You little control freak? She wouldn't say yes to that. Right? She did not say yes to that. So that was an interesting comment considering the tone of the author. Maybe she changes in the future. We can hope for her to get better. Anyway, in conclusion, it's marked full book number 53 for me for the 2024 year. So thank you for joining me.